Hello everyone, this is Joe, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to continue a playthrough of Shapez 2. In the last episode we completed Milestone 8 using these little pin pushers that you see here, which makes this funny sound you can hear here. We also optimized our build area so we can do our shapes a bit faster. In this episode we're going to unlock crystals. How crystal works is that it mixes paint in a shape and it fills up all the empty space in the shape with a crystal. And there's a few interesting things you can do with crystal that I'll be using in my big machine, but crystals also have some downside, is that they are fragile, which means that if they are stuck on something, the crystal disappear, which we'll also take advantage of today. In this episode I'm going to start by showing how crystal works. Then I'm going to move on to create a simple shape using crystal. And finally, I'm going to change this machine that we built here. It's really nice, it gives us some information, but I have to go all over the place. So instead, and also it's the first anniversary of my channel, I thought, let's make a big machine. Which what you will see here, which will be way nicer as a result than this little thing here. It takes a lot of platform, it's pretty cool. Let's begin! Alright, this seems like the perfect place to test how crystal works. I'm gonna slam this giant platform here, I'm gonna put some extractor of shapes and paint here. And we'll do a few tests with crystal. First of all, let's test the basic. And we know with paint we can bring a lot in a single pipe, so... For the crystal, you need 6 belts and 3 liquid for this, which is quite a lot. And for the pipe, I'll have to do what we've done with the painter. And I'll just put a trash. Well, as expected, there is one empty space in this shape, and it filled it with the blue crystal. That's a little too obvious. I'm going to stack 2 shapes on this on top of each other. This should be also pretty obvious. It's going to fill the empty space on both layers. But there's nothing better than testing. As you can see, it filled both layers. And I'll do one more test. What if we rotate it in between? Will it fill the space under? That's what we're going to see. If I stop this here, you can see that everywhere there was a hole, it filled the shape with some blue crystals. Now it was telling us that crystals are fragile, so if we stack it on another shape it's going to break. Will it break only the last layer or also the top one? So let's do this last test here. I think we have to slam it on top of it. I guess the game already showed us what happened. It removes all the crystal from every layers. Which means we can never stack a shape with a crystal on top of another one. Alright then, let's start building a shape with crystals. I already completed this one. I had a little recording issues. This is why you won't see this one, but I'm gonna do the red shape instead. But it's gonna be very simple as you see here. We don't need this shape anymore, so I can take over this factory chain here. This is our white train. I'm going to make it do a little loop. Alright, it's just going to spin and spin. Going to select and press I to empty everything. Alright, everything should be empty. Pause it, I'm gonna respawn a new one, just to be sure. There we go. Everything is clean, it's ready to start a new chain. I'm gonna go change the white color. So this is our white transmitter. I'm going to copy the code of this red shape here. By the way, I haven't shown it, but the shape code for crystal is a small c. If I unpause, we should see in our machine that we need to have 2 square. And by the way, here, since it's paint, we don't need another shape here. This is just empty paint, I guess. And we're going to need also half a circle of red, and since we want to double up, which means I'll need 1 full belt of square and 1 full belt of red. Let's go back to the build area so we can configure our right train. Between 2 episodes, I just created this giant store here. I was experimenting with patterns and also I needed more shapes. But it means it's normal if you don't remember seeing this. Pause things, always good when you work with trains to pause it so you don't end up with trains in the wrong place. I want square, which is this one here. Pretty lucky, it's already configured correctly. And here I want to just send it back this way. And I'll send it to my primary color store, which I haven't used much. And here I'm going to fill it with red paint. Alright, perfect. I just need to load up enough red paint. If you wonder why I always send more paint instead of sending one belt, I'm just filling it up, otherwise the train takes forever to fill. In fact, I'm hoping I'm doing the same thing with the square here. Yep, we're sending 4 belts, we're good to go. Let's go back to the build area. I'm gonna take my model. We might need to redo something here because of the crystal, but that's a separate thing for later. So here I'm receiving my square on the 2nd level. I only need 1. I'm gonna try to be mindful because in the future when I make the machine that will make everything, I'm gonna try to send the shapes on the bottom level, the color in the middle one, and keep the wiring on top, just as a guideline. If you see me sending it like this, it's on purpose. Which means the paint will go on the 2nd floor. Oh, we're gonna need more paint. If you look here, I didn't realize earlier, but you need twice as much fluid than you need belts. Because one fluid launcher only supports 3 of them, rather than the belt that supports 6. So with 1 I can do 3 buildings, with 2 I can do 6 buildings. And since I want to output 2 belts, which means I need 4 pipes even. Okay, I'm gonna create a blueprint for this so I don't have to redo it multiple times. I should have saved it earlier when I've done it, but that's okay. Jeez, this takes the full width. Okay, that's gonna be our pattern. That'll be a nice ways of trying to crystallize nothing here, but okay, I'm gonna delete this. And what I need is opposite squares. It has the wrong rotation. I'm gonna fix this. This is good, as we want to have. Now I'm gonna use my new blueprint I just created. I'm gonna put it twice. I have to connect the paint. Yeah, just like that. Oops, cannot go over the building. Well, I cannot go through the building. I can definitely go over it. And that gives us the shapes that we want. We just need to link this. Also go over the building. Not true. And just have to plug those 2 belts up here and we should be good to go. I really doubt we have a mistake, but I'm still gonna wait for the first shape to arrive. And there we go. Here, this is where we stack the shapes. We are doing a mechanical test. See if there's anything in that belt. There's nothing. Which means it should just go through. Exit here. Be loaded up in the train because this is the right final shape. And we'll be able to send it to our Vortex. By the way, because I played a lot between the 2 videos, I can determine how to do this big machine here. I have a lot of research points. I almost have the train Vortex delivery, and then we're gonna go in something called shape multiplier. And by the way, if we want to be certain we have the right pattern here, we can always use one of our logical buildings. So I'm gonna put a belt reader. And 180 if we look at our upgrades. And this is the maximum speed our belts are going. So we are good to go. Okay, well that's the first shape done. Our next shape will have a complication because we'll need to stack 2 shapes on top of each other. And because the crystals is fragile, we'll have to figure out how to do this. Which means that what we have here is not valid anymore. But we can do something similar to what we've done with the pins and pre-assemble them before we move them up. So that should work. Alright, what I want to tackle next. A couple episodes ago, I built what I had called my AI assistant to help me build shapes. As an example, I give a shape here, it deconstructs it in multiple parts, and it tells me what I need to build. This is not great because I have to scroll everywhere, and it's kind of annoying. Wouldn't it be nicer if we had a nice little output like this, where I would know exactly I need one of each shape, this one I need 5 circles, 3 squares, and so on. So this is what I'm gonna build today. Obviously this is not something I can just build on the fly. I'm pretty good with logical stuff, but this is a bit too much to build live directly on the camera. But right now I'm gonna start from scratch so I can show you how I've built this, and maybe you'll want to build something similar in your own factory. So where do we start from this? On a blank page. Alright, let's start from this little square here. First of all, we need a shape. I'm going to pick one of the shape from the operator level. I like this one because there's multiple colors. In fact, I'll use the one with the pins. There's multiple colors, it uses pins, there's different concepts in there. Next, I want to be able to split this shape in its 4 different layers, which we've done multiple times. In fact, I'm just going to copy paste what we've done in our build area. I'm just going to copy this. I want this to go up, so like this. Alright, in here, I'm just going to put it on the ground floor. It's going to be easier to work with. I'm going to do something similar, but with logical operators. So it's going to be the operator we're going to do on the first layer, second layer, third layer, and fourth layer. In fact, this is so similar, I could probably take this here. See, we can reuse even from our build area. Just shows how we're building things standard now. Alright, that's the same colors that we have matching here. Next, we want to get the shapes, which we have in our 1.0 model. So this split the shape in its different components and stack them together. This machine is a little bit different in what you've seen last episode. There was a bug in it, which I've discovered by just putting more shapes into it between episodes. So I made this thing instead, which is much simpler to explain and much simpler to build. Let's look at the bottom layer only. Here you can see I'm splitting the shape in its 4 different components. How I do that, I use a shape analyzer, which will look at the top right part of the shape, and then I rotate it and so on. Next, what I do, I compare this shape with this shape here. There's a little crossing here. If it's the same, then I stack them together after rotating it so that it doesn't go on top, and I send this further down the chain. Otherwise, it would have just kept going forward and it will use the value that I had in my gate, which is only this shape. And then I'm going to check if it's matching the third shape. Is my inverted circle the same than this square? It is not, which means that this is going to be empty. In this case, it's just going to keep the value that it had in the gate, which in this case was the combination of the 2 shapes. And so on, compare with the fourth one, which is a square again, which means it's not the same. And the same thing, it will continue going forward using the same value we had. Next, for the second shape, I will do the same thing to compare with the other shapes, but I first start with this check here. I check, is it different than the first one? If it's not different from the first one, in this case it's the same, my signal, instead of being this shape here, it will be a null value, which means that this whole level of comparison is blanked out because I don't want to do it because it's the same than this. And for the third shape, it's going to be the same thing, except I'm only going to compare with the shape number 4, and I'm going to make sure it's different than the first 2 shapes. Much simpler pattern, and I like that there's some kind of symmetry if I look at the different floors. Pretty much the same. For the next step, it's a little bit more complicated, but I'm going to try to explain the approach I've took for this one as well. First of all, I'm going to take the output of each of these one here. Since we categorize the shapes, that means there's not going to be any duplicates. In this second step, I'm going to distribute the shape to the right output section on top. On the left, I'm going to accumulate all the circle, then the square, the spikes, and inverted circle. Okay, the first thing I want to do is I want to figure out, is this a circle? And if it is, send it up here. I'm going to try to signal producer and set it to circle. I'm going to use the shape analyzer. And then I want to check, is it equal to a circle? I'm leaving a lot of space. I probably don't need that much, but just in case. If they are equal, I simply want to send this signal forward. And if it's a circle, I'm going to send it here. And we just need to repeat this for all the different wires. And we can safely merge the wires because there's always going to be only one circle. I'm going to do this for every different shapes. And here we can just go here. In the case that it's a square, I'm going to send it here so that we can send it in this one instead. I'll just need to keep a certain logic, but here and here. Okay, let's do it again for the next one. This one will go with the third platform. And just have to repeat that one last time. Send them the third floor and send them this way, this way. Alright, so that's it for the first platform. It should be a very standard way of doing this in all of them. I'm going to copy the same logic to the different platforms. And I just need to distribute the wires to the right platform. In this case, so this is the circle here. And I'll follow the same pattern, except since I'm on the second platform, I'm going to use the second hole, send it on the left. And send it up here so it's ready to be merged later. The second layer, this is the one that I want to send here. And for the other two, they will go on their respective platforms. And now I'll do the same thing for the third and fourth platform. And the last wire, time to test this. I'm going to create a shape that has all the different components. All the wires should be lighted up. I make this weird little shade that's just the same shade but twisted. All the wires should be also lighted up in different orders. Alright, we're almost done. The next thing I have to do now is assemble them together. My pattern has some issue, but with this example, it's the best that it's going to look, so this should be fine. Alright, for this next step, I'm going to show at first how the logical way would be, and then you will see the number of issues that creates. And afterwards, I'll show the way I've done it to solve a lot of the problems. For this though, I'm going to revert to something a bit different, like to this one. And I'll do it where I have two shapes. The rough idea that we want to do here, and I'll do it with these two wires so you can see. Now that I have all my shapes, my next step is to accumulate them in a single shape. If I do it like this, it works fine because the shapes happen to be right. But if the shapes would be inverted, then it becomes really hard to count the shapes because some of them might be hidden under. So what I decided to do here, I'm going to take each quarter of the shape and rebuild it on top of each other. So it looks like it would be a simple thing to do. You could do what we've done earlier. I'm going to do the same thing for the other shape here. In fact, let's just start with this. I need to rotate the first one and then rotate the resulting result of this. You'll see what I mean in a second. I think like this will save a bit of space. So we have the right shape again. Which means, let's say I want to do the same thing with this shape here. I'm going to add the second shape so you can see where we are going with this. And you'll see the problem very quickly here because you cannot do a stack of shape that doesn't exist. I need to merge it with the previous shapes. Like this, alright. You can see the issue here, you cannot do a stacker when you have a shape that's null. As you can see, it doesn't work when it's null, so we need to do a check and do a gate like this for each of them. It's going to take a bit more space, but it's not too bad. And we can probably just copy paste this and be good to go. We're going to have the same issue because I didn't do the rotation. Since we don't know which wires will be null, I'm going to put a base layer at the bottom. But I'm going to change the bottom for spikes to make it more visible. There we go. Which means that we're ready to add another shape on top here. So I'm going to do the same thing for all the different wires. For the second level, I'm just going to invert this, save some space. I'll make this that it makes more sense afterwards, but for testing, this is the best. This is what we're expecting since we have 6 quarters. As you can see, we're really just adding a quarter at a time. And I'll do the next two, and then we're gonna fix the little error that we have. Which we should still have the right shape here. Alright. Now let's plug this correctly with the right wires going the right place, and we'll fix the issue here to have a value that makes sense at the beginning. And we have it empty because we don't have anything to start with. Here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a bottom layer of crystal. By the way, you could never have a colorless layer of crystal. That doesn't make sense, but the game allows you to create it. Now if you look at the top, you'll see that this is going to work. We do have the same that we had earlier, but if we had 4 full layers, it wouldn't work because it means we would be over 4. So let me just do this quickly. Here we're missing the last level because we reached the maximum. I don't know if you remember, but the crystals are fragile, because if we drop this on anything, it's gonna break. So we're gonna do a quick little thing on this. First, I'm going to invert every stackers. You can see it's already working, but it wouldn't work in every scenario. Alright, I switched the shape to an example that has the issue. Since we inverted the stackers, it means we're now stacking from the bottom. Very easy solution in this case, we just need to unstack them and restack them on top of each other and we'll be good to go. But let me just get a real scenario that we end up with this problem. Right here, so we have a full circle and we added those 2 little pieces on there afterwards. We've done that in the past, it's pretty easy to unstack and restack. Simulated building, which is going to do the unstacker. And now the only thing we have to worry about is the fact that some wires are null, which means they cannot be stacked. How we would normally solve this issue would be using the gates and an equal operator. Something like that, which is not too bad, but I'm going to show something slightly different here just for fun. So I'm going to say if this is equal to empty, then I'm going to take the same value I had here. Okay, it's not much shorter, but it's kind of cooler, so I'll use this instead. I do like those patterns though, because once you have the right value, you don't have to think anymore, you just have to stack them. It's a little bit more logical like this, I find. And to go on the theme of stacking them on different layers, I'm going to stack them on different levels. Alright, I believe that's correct, but I'm going to make a shape that has 3 different levels of different shapes. In fact, 4 of them to make sure I restack them in the right order. So at the end, it should be square, spike, inverted circle, circle. Okay, with this, that should be fine. Again, just some fun stuff you can do with crystal. It really allows some kind of clever solution to some problems. I just have to plug in the signal and we're good to go. We got our first shape that should be merged correctly. There we go. So we all know we need a circle and a half. Alright, I need to just copy paste this in the 4 different layers and we should be good to go. Okay, here we have a small cosmetic bug. In the case that we don't have any shape at all, we still have the default value. We can fix it quickly here. We're gonna say that if it's not equal to our default value, send the value true. This one it is equal to our default value, so we want to set empty. I'm just gonna put this patch in my other one. And you should be good to go with the shapes. Now onto the colors. Alright, well, let's do it for colors now. Okay, I'm gonna copy this monster here, and you'll immediately see what I mean though by having something much more complicated, because there's a lot more colors than shapes. I'm just thinking about it, it's not too bad if we split them 2 different sections. Like I could do white, yellow, cyan, and magenta on one side, and do the primary color. This is not how I've done it in my test, but I think this is going to be better. I'm going to need 1 more copy of the first step. Let's move everything here, and for now, let's copy paste this. I'm going to do the basic wiring to all the platforms at least. There we go. Now I need to change these slightly because I need to use the color rather than the shape. And I cannot accumulate colors, which means I'll transform these into a circle of matching colors. A bit like I was doing in the past. Let me show you my old model here. So here, to these I need 2 pipes of magenta as an example. Let's start by changing the shapes for colors at the first step. Alright, I had to move a lot of things around, but it's the same thing I had earlier, except that I am painting a circle of the same color of the shape. And I'm just taking the color from what's coming here. And at the top I do have the different colors separated. And yes, here it doesn't work. We need to replace this with the primary colors. And now I need to take the color in the sorting step. Okay, I have the 4 different wires going through. I'm going to do a quick test again, like usual, just to be sure everything's good. I'm going to change my shape to only have some primary colors. I want to make sure all the wires are used up. Oh, in fact, I want a colorless one, yes. Alright. Every line should always be used up. And here we have issues, but that's normal. I should be trying to move around, and this one will be all the reds here. Since it's working, I'm going to copy the parts that we changed to the other platforms. Oh, that connected perfectly. Oh, looks like I've done this right. Hey, here we're losing the color, but that is fine. It's not fine, but I'll fix it in a minute. Yeah, I think I can just repaint it here. That should be good. And the last one, I believe, is on this side. There we go. All the layers should be covered. So if I copy paste this, I just change the color here, we should be good. All right. Now let's go back and put back our shape that I had earlier. Should have only a tiny bit of red here. 2, which correspond to the 2 red pieces that we have. Right there. Alright. Now I gotta repeat this for the colors that are not the primary colors. And I'll just have to change this for cyan, magenta, yellow, or white. And I gotta change my paint color. Alright, I believe that's correct. This is the right amount of shape of that color. But now that I have this, what I'd like to have is everything in one little panel. So instead of having this all over, how about I just bring this back here? It's a small issue, but we're so close. There's one of the intersection that's not correct on every level. Okay, that seems fine. Alright, well, we have our Assistant 2.0. I can safely delete what I was doing here, because that was definitely much worse. I will try to find a way to share this somewhere in case someone want to replicate this on their side. Alright, look how much better this is. We can see exactly what we need, how many colors of it. It's like a little buffet, you can pick what you want. The reason why I'm doing all this, by the way, is that when I do my make anything machine, I want to make it efficient. And efficiency can have different meaning, but I really want to minimize the number of transformation and items that I get. So, an example, I don't want to have to get everything by quarters. I want to be able to pull the right amount of circles, right amount of paint, and so on, so that I can assemble it. Kind of what you would want to do in the real world. You don't want to have to ship 25 trucks to ship 25 packages. And that's why I built it like this. That will be some kind of exit for us here. It's not gonna go anywhere for now, but that's gonna be the main idea. So you could take all this, you copy paste this near, let's say, your Square store. In fact, we would probably need a store like the biggest store that we had. And instead of having just the train loading stuff that we decide, we'll have some kind of logic here, plug our big machine next to it, and it will get the items that we want. But this is not for this episode. I'm probably gonna start that in the next one. Alright, well, I'm really happy about this. How about I use it to make one more shape? just before we're done. The fact it's not one big rectangle bugs me. Ugh, I'll have to remove the bottom part and just move it a little bit. I'm going to move the output by 1, and then I'll move the input to be inside the big rectangle. I'm gonna put a little label, input and output, and we're done. Now we have a nice little rectangle. And we have the train vortex delivery on top of this. I believe the shape multiplier unlocks once you complete the last milestone, so yes. Let's see how this works for the train delivery, because we probably just want to chuck it in there rather than doing this. Let's do a quick test like this. Oh, I think so. Everything else should go up. And on pause. Let's see when the green comes back. Oh, there it is. It's probably empty right now, but... Oh yeah, alright. I don't need all this then, I can just take the red train and shove it in there. I wonder if it comes back or if it's just done. Oh yeah, that makes it faster, that's good. I guess I don't need this part. Okay, let's watch this one then, the box afterwards. I'll look at the operator so you can see the amount go up. Rain is coming. If we look at this one. Oh, 1000 right there. Guess we should simplify this one as well. Oh, and I forgot, you can make it as short or long that you want. Okay. There it is. Alright. Quite a little optimization there. Alright, so I'm going to do a last shape. Either ones are very similar. So this one uses the blue transmitter. I'm going to go change this. Where is the blue channel? My things were a little bit all over the place because I've been doing a lot of testing. There's the blue. Alright. We're going to use our first. In fact, I should save this blueprint before I lose it. I'll save it under automation. Assistant 2.0 in the automation folder. Create one of these big assistant for the blue color. So global wire transmitter. We want blue channel. I'm gonna put our new milestone, which I'm gonna do the purple one. And since we always do 2 of each shape, I'm going to need 2 squares, 2 circles, as well as 1 white paint. Oh, in fact 2 because we're doing crystal and it takes double. Is this one already? I might have already the right amount of things here. I need to remove my other transmitter. Alright, there I go. Alright. That should already be correct. I'm gonna cut this here. I'm just gonna go check where the blue goes. I think it's one I've sent in the new section here. I'm filling it with 4 belts, so I am good. I have enough. For the color, again, I'm pretty sure I filled it up, but just to be sure. Yeah, I'm using a full 4. I'm using a full 4 pipe, so I'll be good. Again, minor change to what we've done, but very efficient now compared to before. Here I need 1 square, and here I need 1 square as well. And the paint. Oh, the color disappeared here. Do you have an issue in here when I restack them? I didn't think of that. Okay, well that's not an issue I'm going to fix in this video, but the lower layer has purple paint, which means I don't have it either in here. Yeah. Where does it break? So I cannot do this model for the crystal. We cannot invert them. Well, that's a problem, but not what I want to solve in the moment. But for this here, I'm going to change it. Here I'm just going to split it and send it here. It's not always going to be in the same order, but we'll have to live with it. There was this issue here as well. Alright. So I also need purple paint and white paint. Okay, I'm already loading purple and white. I must have seen it ahead of time and added it there another tab before that. So why don't I have any purple here? Because I'm using it. Yeah, okay. Alright, let's build this. And this is gonna mess up. Alright. I'm going to manually add a patch to this. Ugh. Alright, now it's the right shape that goes at the bottom. Let's build this one. That should be pretty simple. I'm going to put a couple quartering machines. It's already in the right direction. And I'm just going to use my new blueprint. And because we cannot stack it, I'm going to need to send it sideways here. Then I'll add the inverted square, and then I'll do the last crystallization. This will be the last crystallization step. I'm going to bring this up from the left side. I'm also going to bring the paint. There we go. Now I just need to stack these two together and then send it here. And next I'm going to stack the opposite square on top of the existing shape. And now this is what we're going to send to crystallize. Here will be good, we don't want to stack anything. And we have the right shape here. And since this is not really valid for this, I'm going to simplify this. I don't want to take a chance that at some point I change the shape and then it starts stacking and breaking. Alright, looks like we have the right shape. Alright, I think it's a good place to stop this episode. We've made an awesome progress with this nice little machine here. We simplified our Vortex a little bit with those jumping trains. And next episode we'll need to review this build area here because it's not appropriate for crystals. Which makes me think it might be a good idea to start automating the build area as well. But this is why this game is fun. You have a new building block and you gotta make it work. If you're enjoying this series, please consider hitting the like button or leave a comment. As usual, thanks everyone and have a great day.